There is a generation coming who will live with this light flowing through them. In this mentoring session, I wanted to look at some things that are going to go on with our bodies over the next 2 generations and how that impacts us now, today, in our lives and in our seeking to be full of the life that is available to us. Now, as I spend time in the heavens, I hold many questions and I explore and I look for what is coming. John talks about what we will be has not yet been made clear, but we know this: when we see him, we will be like him. And there's a mystery wrapped up in that, and there's a looking at appearing into the future that's going on by people on the earth, people not on the earth, by the cloud of witnesses, looking to what is coming. There's something coming. It's what Paul calls the redemption of our bodies in Romans. There's something going to go on with us. There's a generation coming who are going to live beyond the limits of the body. They'll live in beyond bodies. Because our bodies were designed to be channels and full of the light of the life of God. Light bodies. John says this of Jesus, that he was full of life. He came from the Father, full of life, and that life was the light of men. The light of men. There's something that we're meant to contain called the light of men, which Christ opened up for us, re-accessed us to, which means that the decay and corruption in this body will at some point and in some way be overcome, be reversed. And it's not just that we will become people who live for long periods of time, even indefinitely, in our bodies. It's not that. It's a transformation of our nature that's linked between our earthly body and our spiritual body. And it's coming. As I spend time in the heavens, I see that linking up with something else that I see coming, which is the restoration of the generations, the unfolding and undoing of what broken patterns have created within us. It's not merely like that we will be forgiven. It's as if sin and brokenness and self-focus will be reversed. The restoration of the generations within us, because our bodies contain the record of the generations that have gone before, with the culmination of all the lives lived. Our bodies carry that. And it's not merely that I need to be healed from what I've done with my life. There's a whole generational echo going all the way back to the beginnings, which is containing a shout, like perhaps what is revealed in Genesis of the blood of Abel, murdered Abel, the brokenness of Cain exerted on Abel, power over Abel, causes his life blood to be shed and scream out from the earth. And that scream is in our DNA, it's in our bodies. And it would seem to me that what I see coming is an undoing of that scream, not merely like a stopping at this point, but a reversal all the way back to the Adamic story, such that what John was seeing, which probably had a fulfillment to some extent in his time, but it was looking into the future as well, a time when every tear would be wiped from the eyes. Like there's no more home for brokenness. There's no more patterns for it to rest upon. Our DNA, our memory, the record has been changed, and that is wrapped up with our body. Those records somehow go hand in hand with corruption, with decay, and they will be undone. And they can't be undone unless the record is undone. And the record isn't undone by some simplistic, oh, well, Jesus did it. No, there's a mechanism to this. What Christ has done by shedding his blood, which is his life, in allowing himself to be murdered by the authorities in his day, the culmination of generations and hatred to be unleashed on him, causing his blood to be shed and him allowing that, sows the seed of undoing the generations of disconnect from the Father. Because in the blood is life. So that's Christ's life. And as John said, in him was life. And that's the light of men. So when we talk about the blood of Jesus, we are talking about something that is expressing the life of Jesus that is released into our beings generationally, and it is the light of men. So your body is meant to contain pathways that express, that allow this light to flow through you, and this is what is coming. Your body glowing with the light of God. And that can happen. I've seen that happen with individuals where they physically seem to express a glow, where we've prayed for people and their faces have lit up. I've watched it with someone whose wrinkles seemed to disappear as they were being prayed for. And that's more than just physical light coming through the body. It's a deeper light than that. This is the light that is the light of man, the light of humanity. And it radiates through the body, and that will increase. So I see a generation coming that are accessing this on a much deeper level. The forerunners, if you like, because it is coming, and there's always a group, a wave of people who live not in the time they're in, but ahead of their time. They're ahead of the process, and they start to reveal it. They show a way, they show a different way, which then draws others into it. They become a lighthouse, a source of attraction to go, yes, that's what can be done. Like Elijah and Elisha were in their day, like Christ was in his day. We go, wow, there's something that can be lived that's different. Paul says an interesting phrase that contains deep truth that we will increasingly grasp. And that is that whatever is exposed to the light becomes light. And this reveals a way, a mechanism of how God will operate in our bodies that maybe previous understandings of religious mindsets may not have got this. That is, it is not merely about kicking evil out of our bodies, but the darkness is the absence of light flowing through us. And as light flows, as it shines through pathways, it transforms beings, bodies, into light, into what John called the light of humanity. If we decode what Paul says about coming out of flesh energy by those who belong to Christ, have crucified who? The flesh energy. That is, they've allowed the crucifixion. It's not the magic of a piece of wood. It's the power of the one on it and the lifeblood shed. So it's when the lifeblood comes and meets the energy of flesh. When light shines, that energy becomes light. So the transformation is not me resisting evil, but exposing myself to the light of humanity that has come through the life of Christ into my pattern. So when I sense jealousy coming through the network of patterns in my being, through my generations past, many people being jealous and feeling like they've lost out, and that whole cry, when it activates in my being and I'm jealous of someone in my life, and I open up the pathway, not by trying to stop that jealousy, but exposing it to this light that comes within me, it changes. It's like that jealous energy becomes a trigger for an opening up for the blood, the life, the light of the Christ to come through me and transform my energies. So I go from being flesh energy driven to the light of humanity energy driven. That's where the power is. I see we will be able to control weather. We will be able to control. We will be able to overshadow, to have dominion over creation. But it's not merely by one or two people speaking commanding orders to storms to stop or rain to come. It's by an increasing body generation that are carrying this light energy that create an environment where change starts to happen in the external environment outside of their increasing light-aware bodies. That generation is rising up. And that's part of the point of the messages I'm bringing, which is to help this forerunning generation who are going to carry this light and who will be changed from what in the old language they called glory to glory, like the shining of the light through this vessel, increasingly, transforming the way I am, but also the energies that I release, and together the energies that we release. That is the revealing of the Christ, the life, which is the light within man, within humanity. When the flesh energy rises up and I sense the jealousy, the engagement that allows the light in is the belonging to the Christ. That is where I go, I am not my own, I die. That is, I relinquish control, that is the ability to live from that flesh energy and the ownership of that flesh energy. I need to make an agreement with my body because my body is screaming out the fear of death. It doesn't want to die. I may not be aware of imminent physical death, but it's crying out, I don't want to die. I don't want to die. I don't want lack. I need to have my needs met. I need to be accepted. It has this fear of death cry. Now, we need to come to an agreement with our body. Hey, we will yield that fear to the Christ one. I will stop trying to defend myself from that death outcome, and I will trust to his light bringing the good outcome in my being. I say to my body, we will trust in the Christ, and it changes my relationship and connection and dynamic with this vessel, with this physical body. And the more I do that, the more it comes to rest. So when I have an engagement with the heavens, this body can be at rest, not panicked, not holding on to my spirit body for dear life, but can relax, and I can sustain being in the presence. Many people ask me, how do you find time, or how do you work it so that you can be in the heavens? How do you generate that momentum? Here's one of the keys to that, which is I break the ties between my body and the fear of death. So my body does not drag my spirit down. And even though I might be focusing on some other subject, not apparently to do with the heavens, my spirit is free to be engaged in that, whether I'm conscious and focused on that or not. And I will catch up with that engagement. I will perceive it later on, or I will be perceiving it as I'm focusing on something else, knowing that in a short time I can refocus on it. But increasingly, I am not coming in and out of that state, but it's there in the background, in the fullness, growing and overwhelming everything I do. I'm coming to be at home in that presence, and that enables me to channel more and more of that light through my body, because I'm living from that place that is the light of humanity. I'm living with him, and his patterns start to subconsciously come through my being. So the transformation that's coming in the world is not just going to come through political decisions, through clever understanding, through scientific breakthroughs. It's going to come from the life of Christ manifest in the light of humanity, coming through those who've yielded their bodies to be an expression of Christ. Since you were raised with Christ, set your mind on things above, not on earth energies. For you died, and your life, which is the light of humanity, is hidden as Christ, who is your life, your light, is revealed. As he starts to be seen, so will you be seen with him in glory. Do you see the two coming together? What it will happen in the future is the revealing of Christ in the light of humanity. The revealing of Christ in the light of humanity. And we will see him, and we shall be like him. We shall be as he is. carrying, living in bodies that are streaming the light. And in the beginning, God said, "Let there be light." And there was light. And it was separated from the darkness. And it is good. And it is in you. You will not someone who will constantly wrestle with the darkness. Because when the light comes, because the blood has been shed, then the light drives out the darkness. And you will live more than your preconceived ideas of what supernatural is. You will be a manifestation of the light that God spoke. Let's spend time meditating on this, diving into this, using times when we are focused on the Father to open our beings up to his light and presence and see this expand in our beings. There is a generation coming who will live with this light flowing through them. There is a generation coming who will live with the light of humanity, which sits on the life of Christ. The light of humanity, the transforming light, not only of our beings, but of the environment around us, will come.